Blue Economy section here at Aquaculture 2020. My name is George Brooks, and I am an adjunct professor at Mesa College in Phoenix. I'm also the owner of a aquaponics, ag tech, urban farming development company. I call it Next Horizon. But in this particular hat that I'm wearing, was a chance for me to do something that I always wanted to do, and that I was the extension specialist for the state of Arizona, and I'd always wanted to bring more minorities into aquaculture. This was an incredible grant to get a chance to work on. And so this is the National MBE Aquaculture Program, and my co-authors were, conspirators, were my author, Martha Roy, and Alcides Velasquez, a minority business development agency, part of the Department of Commerce, and administered by the Florida State Minority Supplier Development Council and the Southern Regional Minority Supplier Development Council. Now, we have a problem here in the United States, and that is, obviously, we need more fish. That's what we all do. We all do fish. That's why we are here at this conference. And we've all seen this particular graph where aquaculture is going to be needed to supply most of the fish for the world as the population increases, because global fisheries have topped out. But the way the ocean is behaving these days, the fisheries might actually decline somewhat, even though I certainly hope that is not the case and that we do get a chance to recover them. Inside of the world aquaculture production, the United States is unfortunately just a blip. It doesn't even show up on these graphs. It's part of the other that you see here, as opposed to 61% coming from other nations, or 99% coming from other nations. But that leaves us with a challenge of sustainability here in the United States. This one graph kind of puts it into really context. According to NOAA, we produced in 2016, I understand it's come up just a little bit, but we produced 633 million pounds of seafood in this country. Now, in that every American eats about 16 pounds of seafood, if you multiply 16 times 40 million people in California, we don't even produce enough fish if all of it was to be diverted to California to feed them, let alone the rest of the nation. So overall, the fish that we eat is about 1 out of 10 fish that we produce, that we are able to produce for our plates. But there is a solution. In fact, there are all kinds of solutions that we could do with it. More farms, more production. But how about activating an entire portion of our population that is not involved in aquaculture? In this case, I went through the statistics. Only 11% of the fish farms, aqua farms in this country are owned by minorities, and that means Black, white, Latino, you name it. 11%, while it's 35% of the nation, and there's no real data why. And so we have a real tip of the iceberg situation where we are going here. So the National Aquaculture Development Program, okay, it was the first of a kind. We were looking at, now we had no disparity studies to work from, so this was all combined into one. How are we going to get more minorities into aquaculture? Okay, that means all types, and also the aquaculture industry is far more diverse than we often think about. Now, Martha Roy was the director of the program out of Florida. Alcides was out of Louisiana. I was served as a freshwater subject matter expert, and Dr. Benetti from the University of Miami Rosenfield School of Marine and Atmospheric Sciences, they were the other partner on this project. Over a time period from 1024 to 18 to 824-19, we visited 22 cities and gave presentations across the nation, reaching about 200 people. Places from San Juan, Puerto Rico that we see here, Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Oh, by the way, it was great when Greg Lutz walked in the room, who's the editor of Aquaculture magazine. It was good to see him. Good friend. Thermal, California, they're amazing tilapia farms down there running off of geothermal energy. One owned by minorities, a gentleman there in the lower left-hand corners. Some cities are now focusing on aquaculture as part of their general plans, such as Phoenix, Arizona. We also walk through in these presentations the aquaculture value chain. You see there's more here than just growing fish. If you're going to have a fish farming industry where you're including more people, they have to have a support structure such as raw materials, feed supplies, broodstock, hatcheries, nurseries. All of these are opportunities in the aquaculture industry. And of course, STEAM, science, technology, engineering, math, and sciences, really no better way to teach people STEAM than through aquaculture, particularly aquaponics, because you get two sides of it going on there. We walked through feed production. This guy produces his own feed. He produces thousands. In fact, there's 100,000 tilapia in this McDonald's jar. Here in Louisiana, HUD zones are now being created just for oysters, which lowers the cost of entry so that people, a variety of folks, minorities, can get into the oyster business. And of course, every species of fish you can think of. We walked through the catfish here, just a sample, but catfish, tilapia, striped bass, you name it. We walked through in each state how these things people can grow these and make money with them. Naturally, Panea prawns, whether in saltwater, brackish water, even freshwater. And some states actually have saltwater aquifers and macrobrachium. We'll see it in a moment, a slide taken from my local store. They are doing amazing things right now as far as the prices on macrobrachium. But if you use them as a lobster replacement instead of a shrimp, even pompano, saltwater culture, we're using big RAS systems, and particularly this one example here at the University of Miami, and large recirculating system, again in Thermal, California, with this very large system that produces up to, I think he does 300,000 pounds of tilapia a year going into Los Angeles, and of course, aquaponics in activating urban spaces and cities, my own in particular, Phoenix, where we cannot be wasting water. The aquaponics gives us tremendous opportunities to do that. Or tobacco farmers in South Carolina. This gentleman, phasing out of tobacco, building macrobrachium farms and doing very, very well with that. Puerto Rico, they had a tremendous aquaculture industry and then something stopped it. But got all these fish ponds everywhere that can be reactivated. Feed fishing, another opportunity, it's like at McDonald's. You bring the fish in and you open the door and people fish them out, and it is a great opportunity, for people to both sell fish coming in and sell fish going out. Naturally processing, you gotta have processors. There's one African-American gentleman in New Orleans named Carl. He had a processing plant. He had machines in there worth more than my house. And so it was an amazing facility to see. Value-added opportunities, you can turn fish into products, transportation, more value-added in restaurants and such. Oh, and then you buy, we fry. As a tradition in many minority communities, Asian, African American, where they have live tanks full of fish, and then you buy the fish and they will turn it into whatever form you want. These are all great opportunities. How are we doing?
We're doing great.
Okay. And of course, restaurants. Oh, and here's this picture with macrobrachium. Here they are using, now prawns taste like lobsters anyway. Well, here they're, this is right off the shelf in my neighborhood at a large supermarket taken just a few days ago. And they are using large macrobrachium tails as a lobster replacement since they taste like lobster anyway. And when compared to Paneas, they're getting $16.99 a pound versus $7.99 a pound. And so naturally, there are all kind of folks there in the middle, but it gives you an idea of the valuations that are now going on that. And then we have to have access to capital. Okay, how do we gain, if you want to do fish farming, how do you gain access to capital? If I was to go to a bank in Phoenix, Arizona today and tell them I want to start a fish farm, they would probably throw me out the bank because such things are supposedly impossible in Phoenix. So they have to understand, if I went to the same bank in Mississippi, they will ask me all kinds of questions because they know what I'm talking about. Then the fish is now high-tech. Agriculture is now high-tech, so it's going the startup route. So things like Fish 2.0, which is an accelerator encouraging startups to go into aquaculture. But then the other side of the coin is still available, such as the old-fashioned food co-op. which is another opportunity. My area is urban, so urban backyards, whatever else, can be activated as members of a co-op. There's so many opportunities as long as you have the right business model. Now, as far as gathering the data as to where these people were, that as you see here, most of them were asking for extension kind of services, education, training, technical assistance, mentorship, all of these things. So we need to reactivate extension into these kinds of roles. But then, as far as what things they needed, they needed a business plan. We got to have a business model that works instead of a business plan. And the issue with the business model is we have to reduce that cost of entry so more people can be leveraged in to aquaculture. All of these things are great possibilities. So at the end, this is the tip of the iceberg. There's so much more. 11% of the population. Imagine if we could increase that, but there's so much more that we need to do. We talked to about 200 people through this project, and I've met many, many more since it's ended. The opportunities for aquaculture, as long as we continue, are tremendous. And I thank you very much. Are there any questions? Yes, ma'am.
Are you collaborating with any tribes?
Oh, yes. We had a chance to meet with representatives from the Gila River Indian community when we met in Phoenix. But there are tribal opportunities everywhere. Now, I've worked with about 20 tribes, and there are many tribes in Arizona. And many of them are interested in aquaculture possibilities. Gila River has worked in it before. Atchin, Tahana, Atum, I don't remember. There are several tribes that are related that they call them the Pies, Yavapai, Wallapai, etc. And at least one of them has worked in aquaculture. Salt River, Apache. So they have resources, and they also have fish that are native to their lands that the Apaches have turned that into a fishery. These fish are endangered, but they turned it into a fishery so that they can support the recovery of these endangered Oncorhynchus apache, the Apache trout. So on indigenous lands, tremendous opportunities across the nation.
What's the future of the program? Is it funded? Does it need to grow? What does it look like moving forward?
We need to get this refunded. Okay, funding. This was a one-year program. I'm here letting you know that it did great things, and the final report hopefully will be able to leverage into future opportunities. All done?
All done.
Thank you.
Good.